here today?
Yes, I hope you're fine, listeners or viewers. My name is Lucas Fondo. I work for Local Empowerment for Good Governance, and that's LENGO in short. It's an NGO that was established in the year 2012, and it works in the 6 counties of the Coast region. The main thematic areas of coverage of the work that we do, actually we cover some work on governance, good governance. We do some work on environmental justice and human rights. Yes.
So when you talk about good governance and environmental justice and what else?
Human rights.
And human rights.
Yes.
Then all of this concern the people.
Of course, yes.
So how does that relate to data? And let's go back to what is data?
I think data is information. Information that can be used for development purposes or for furthering good deeds for humanity, and making sure that people understands their environment, where they live, and the issues around them. Yes, so you can quantify that as data, which is very important in terms of the well-being of community or human beings. Yes.
So today we want to talk about data accountability and transparency by the government. And we want, as a citizen, what we want is development.
Yeah.
Every time we're talking about the government, we want to hear the government plus what have they done. So what is the process of, take us through the process of the government delivering to its citizens, right, in relation to data? How is data used in the government's delivery?
You know, the government is one very big institution, and it's supposed to deliver rights of people, and in a large scale. So if I'm saying it's supposed to deliver rights of people, meaning developmental rights and very many other rights, not only development. So if you want to deliver a development that is pro people, then you need to be driven by certain ideals or certain information. You need to have like a background information. Say, for example, I want to provide healthcare services in a certain sub-county in Mombasa. So what data are you looking at so that you know that that drives you to say that whatever I'm doing is actually reaching the people and they are satisfied and they are happy about what we do. So there is that data that you need to have, and there is also the participation of those people, either to give you more data or to participate in giving you more information about the services they want. So that's why a government cannot just purport to give information or to deliver development without using data, unless you want to do haphazard development. Yes.
So where do we get this data from? Like, where does the government get the data from?
The government is, as I said, is a very big machine, and it's supposed to generate the data. For example, after every 10 years, we normally do the population and housing census of, like, for example, now we have the population and housing census of 2019, or it's...
Well, yeah, it's 2019.
Yes. So that data that is being collected, like, for example, they come to your house at night and they ask you questions. How many kids do you have? What's your, where do you work? What kind of machines do you have? What kind of house do you have? what are your sources of water and such like. So they collect all that data and tabulate it into that report, the population and housing census. So that's one set of data that the population and housing census is actually a compilation of different data sets, because you can know that this locality has this number of women, this locality has this number of men, a number of kids, number of people living with disability, number of health services, number of people owning certain machines. So all those are data sets that should be assisting the government actually in making its plans and actually delivering services to members of the community. But that's not the only data that a government needs to have, because this data only comes once in 10 years. But you see, in between, you have, for example, an influx of people from rural to urban migration, which were actually counted when they were in the rural areas, but they later come to town, and they all seek services through the government is supposed to provide services. So let's say, for example, the county government of Mombasa can have its own data sets. It can generate its own data sets in between that complement the housing and population census, so that when it produces, it provides services, then these services are really driven by the real situation on the ground. And
it's nice that you said they do complementary in between the 10 years.
Yeah. No, they're supposed to do it. If they do it, that's another thing altogether. Sometimes they don't do it, but different departments do it.
That is my question now.
Yep.
What if they don't do it and people have migrated, let's say, to Mombasa County, and also there have been births, deaths, some people have gotten lost, So how do they have the right data to be able to deliver through the citizens?
Now that's the biggest challenge, the biggest elephant in the house. Because if a government is reluctant to periodically produce this data, that's when you find there is a lot of public outcry that we don't have water, we don't have quality health care, we don't have garbage collection, because you don't know how many people, like for example, the county government of Mombasa now is doing a census or an inventory on the number of businesses, small and large businesses that are in Mombasa. Do you want to believe that the county government of Mombasa didn't have that data? So how are you providing services to these members, the business community, for example? Yeah. That was one of the areas that was found to be wanting. Because I remember sitting in a forum and we were asking ourselves, do you, as county government of Mombasa, know the number of businesses in Mombasa? Do you categorize them? Like, for example, small kiosks, shops, and the big companies like hotels. There are the neighborhood hotels, B&Bs, and there are the large hotels at the beach. How many of those do we have? And if you want to provide services to these people, let's take, for example, not even provision of services. The county government is allowed to collect local revenue. Yes. Sure. So this local revenue is supposed to assist the county government to bring about development. So how many businesses do you have so that you can do your projections that this year we can be able to collect this amount of taxes? So because you budget every year, it means that your budget is blind to the fact that you're not collecting the real amount of revenue that you should be collecting. Unless you have this kind of data that says in Mombasa we have this number of small-scale businesses, we have this number of mama mbogas, we have this number of boda bodas, we have this number, and they all pay taxes because these are revenue streams to the county government, and the revenue is what drives development for the county government.
So is it okay to say that they should actually make sure that they have new data every year.
If they can be able to do that, the better. And Mombasa, we are talking about Mombasa, all the government agencies, but we are picking Mombasa as an example.
Yeah.
Mombasa is an urban setting. It's a city. People always come every day looking for jobs. Like the number of people during the day when it's daytime like this is different from the number of people at night, because most people are here looking for jobs and they need services by the county
from
government.
other counties.
From other counties. There are those that now migrate to permanently reside here, but there are those others that only come during the day and go back at night. So pick, for example, an institution like the Coast General Hospital. What is the number of people that it serves in a day?
A lot of people.
A lot of people, because it serves even other counties. Emergency cases always are referred to, because it's a level 6 hospital, they're referred there for attention.
Yeah.
And do you know that the budget for the Coast General Hospital is only provided by Mombasa County, in the Mombasa County budget and from the Exchequer, which sometimes they don't leave to the fact that this institution serves the regional, the whole region, the whole of Coast region. So if you don't have that data of saying this Coast General Hospital, during the day we serve this number of people, during the night we serve this number of people, then you will always be, you will not be providing quality services to these people. That's when you find cases like they don't have medicine, like they don't have enough doctors and nurses, the institution doesn't have water, because you don't know the number of people that you serve. And this data of saying we serve this number of women, we serve this number of children, we serve this number of cases who are come here as men. You need to have it as a government, as an institution, to help you plan for provision of better services. That's the importance of data in government planning and provision of services. So without data, every day we will be crying foul that the government doesn't provide this, doesn't provide that. And it's because maybe the government itself doesn't have data, enough data or credible data to that matter.
Okay,
Yes.
we are going to go for a short break, but when we come back, we'll start from there. And now that you've said sometimes the government doesn't have enough data, and you've given the example of the Coast General Hospital, in that case where its resources or whatever amenities it has are not for the residents of the area that they have the data. Okay, so what are they going to do from then? Because other people will come in. They don't care if we are not counted. We are not counted as members of this
They
area.
come looking for services.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what then is supposed to be done by the government?
Okay.
And how can the citizens help?
Okay.
Because they are coming from them. They don't even know if that is something that may affect the services that people get. Yeah. When we reach such a point where the resources and the amenities we have in maybe let's say the county of Mombasa is not enough for the county of Mombasa, and the people who are coming from Kwale, Kilifi, Taita Taveta to get services in Mombasa, then what do we do from then? That's
when you need to advocate for more resource allocation by the national government. And the national government through the SRC, that is the Commission for Resource Allocations, normally come up with a formula of how they allocate resources. Then this formula needs to put in consideration account like Mombasa, which is serving almost all the regions, all the regional counties, because if the formula discriminates against allocating enough resources to Mombasa County, then it actually puts on pressure on the little resources that are allocated for Mombasa County and the revenue that Mombasa County collects. And then it becomes a whole lot of other things, because that's when you will see people dissatisfied with services, always blaming the county government and the leadership that's there. So first of all, it begins on the formula that is being put in place by the Commission for Revenue Allocation. They use a certain formula, like for example, the number of people that you have in the county, the number of say how you collect your revenue, and how you use your spending capacity vis-a-vis your revenue production capacity, revenue raising capacity, is what drives the formula that has been put in place by the Commission for Revenue Allocation. Then these parameters that they are using should also put in place a parameter that looks at, for example, Mombasa being a hub for the region, that you now have the influx of people that come, and they will also need services to be served from Mombasa. Maybe in the formula they should be considering something like that, so as to free Mombasa from using most of its resources to serve people from outer counties or other counties, you know. So I think the Senate is supposed to advocate for that, because the Senate, you know, is an oversight body to what the counties are doing. Yeah, and it also has a role to fight for more resource allocation to these counties. So the Senate should actually up its game and ensure that they look at these issues, especially the counties that are hubs to regions, like for example, Mombasa, Eldoret, Kisumu, Nairobi. These actually big towns, the counties that are housing the big cities, they normally have influx of people. So maybe they need to introduce something that would actually cushion these counties from actually running out of resources, and which would eventually lead to negative effects on service provisions. Then another way is through members of the public themselves being able to participate in resource allocations processes, in development processes, whether it's county planning processes, and actually saying that we know that we have this facility here, for example, a health facility, which does not serve us better. And we need more medicines because we don't have medicines there. We need more nurses because we don't have nurses there. Then this information can eventually assist the county to be able to plan much better for provision of services. But if now you are in a situation where the public participation is not meaningful, or it doesn't take place well, people are not informed in time, people are the normal challenges for public participation, then again that's another challenge, because the county does not know how many people it's supposed to serve, and the needs of the people.
And on that note, the citizens, I think citizens of maybe even Kenya as a whole have a problem, because when we are talking about allocation, even before we go to allocation and taking part in the developmental stages. For example, if I start a business here, just around Mwembeni hapa, and it's let's say nauza something on the road. Am I supposed to go to the government and tell them that I have actually started this small business of mine, and it hasn't grown, I'm still on the roadside, but it's a business in Mombasa?
Yes.
So that they can know when we are budgeting for anyone in this country or in this county, we have someone who's selling eggs and smokies in Mwembeni. Is that what we are supposed to do.
Yes, and that's why you find out that the government normally gives licenses to businesses, because that is a form of data that they should be maintaining, that there is this person who is stationed at Mwembeni in Topanga selling eggs, and they license that. Then that means this person needs to be paying their taxes to the county frequently, so that the county understands that this business is still running in the same place. But you find out most of the time we don't do it. We just open our business and that's it. We sell, and yet we always complain that we need services by the county, and yet we don't do our responsibility. Because
in the case of a market where people don't really go for licenses, even if I start selling smokies and eggs out here, I'm not going to get a license. I'll just come and with my bucket, because I might start with a bucket and eggs na kachumbari hapo.
Yes,
the side.
yes.
That's all I'll do. Now the only thing I'll see is the county council. There's that 50 bob or 100 bob that they might come and ask.
Yes,
might.
Yes.
It's not always. So is that 100 bob enough? Can I call that data already?
And you know, most of the time that 100 bob don't even reach the county.
Okay.
You know, it goes into the pockets of the people who are collecting. Some of them are imposters, saying that we are county government officials. Like I was operating a small business, and there is this guy who used to pass by every Tuesday collecting 20, 30 bob. And if you don't give, then they would actually threaten you, and with taking you to the county, taking you to court and such like, until many people normally fear these people and run away. Whenever they hear that the guy is coming, they close shop and run away. But do you know that I came to find out that this person was not actually a county employee, he was just an imposter. So, and even if this person works at the county, most of the time, this person, the money that they collect don't go to the county. Because what form of identification or what form of a receipt they give? Sometimes they don't give receipt. Collecting 20 bob to a small business or 50 bob, sometimes they don't give a receipt.
And even if I'm given the receipt, I'll keep it for the day, so that you won't come and ask where you haven't paid.
Then after that,
I'll dispose it. Yes. So I don't have proof that I actually paid.
Yeah.
But then the question was actually, now that I've paid that 100 bob, in my head, I know very well that when I pay that 100 bob, I have paid it to the county. I'm going to get services.
Yes.
I'm still not in the data.
Yes.
Let's say in case the 100 bob reaches to the county, it's going to serve other people.
And not you.
Me,
because you are not counted.
I'm not counted.
Your data is not there. Yes.
So are these small businesses, the roadside businesses, the kiosk, the stall that has been just put around the corner, the neighborhoods
or along the roads,
are we supposed to pay? And also comes to the question of, okay, fine, are the licenses fee too high for these people?
Yeah, most of the time, you know, most of the time we just make noise for nothing, because the county budget making process has some phases, and each phase there are documents that are being produced, and people are called for public participation. They need to raise their voices wherever licenses are too high. For example, if you're operating an M-Pesa kiosk, it used to be 12,000, 7,000, 9,000. Now it has tripled. And yet you now look for ways of avoiding to pay. Instead, you would have raised it during a public participation forum. And sometimes the county government itself makes deliberate effort for people not to participate in a meaningful way, because they need, for example, to publish that county finance bill on time. They need to bring it to the people on time so that people can be able to interrogate it, analyze it, and say, no, we as kiosk owners for M-Pesa, we think that based in Mwembeni, we think that this is too high for us. What works out is maybe we come up with a proposal and say this works out based on the business that we do. But sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes it's our own making. Sometimes it's the county's deliberate making, that you just pay people not to participate so that you clobber them here and there, which sometimes doesn't take us far, because the Constitution provides for meaningful public participation, and it gives you time frames and the way the framework of how public participation is supposed to be undertaken, so that it becomes meaningful for us and members of the public, as members of the public who are supposed to receive the services eventually. But sometimes we don't do it that way, and this affects us a lot in terms of getting the services that we are looking for. So by you giving out that 100 and assuming that it goes to the county, let's assume that it even goes there, but you're not registered as a business. So that means you are doing zero
work,
because that money will not serve you, because you're not registered.
Someone else who's registered.
Yes.
Okay, so that is a ball on our side as the citizens of Kenya to actually take responsibility, because most of the time we try to say we are avoiding tax, but in real sense we are avoiding developments, and then we will come to blame the government. What are some of the things that we do as the citizens of Kenya that poses a challenge to the government and also in the way we receive developmental projects?
Yeah, and I think some of these challenges are not for our own making, but the government's making. For example, if the government doesn't have policies to guide on how things are done, like for example garbage collection and disposal, then it becomes a challenge to you to even know, where do I dispose my garbage? So you throw your garbage anywhere. Yeah, unakaa giza ikiingia, unatoka na mfuko and you throw it to your neighbor's window without knowing that you are spoiling your own environment, and then tomorrow you are the one that will make noise calling out the government that the government doesn't give services, but it's you who throw it out. But actually, if you look at keenly, it is the government, because they didn't have a policy of how people should behave when they have collected garbage and how it should be disposed. So policy is one of the issues, there challenges. But on the citizens' part is actually one of our major challenge is the lack of coming out to participate. For example, if the government is saying that we have a budget making process and there is this document coming out for public participation, and then you go there and find out that people are not coming out for that public participation process, and the little people that come out, the small numbers of people that come out, also demand to be paid for them to participate, then you know that there is a problem. Because the development is you, service delivery is for you, and here you are demanding to be paid transports for you to come and sit, or sitting allowances for you to sit and discuss your development. So that's a challenge.
And I think it's important to emphasize that you might think you're losing time and money when you go to the public participation, but in real sense, if you go, you're going to be part of the policy.
Actually, because your contribution is a lot.
Exactly.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you'll be saving yourself a lot more than
that 100 you're demanding.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think that is one thing that we should try to create awareness about. So, you know, it's hard to convince someone about that. So I'd also want to know, what is this thing, or what are we going to do to make sure that people know that you are not wasting time when you go to the public participation. You are not trying to save your business when you stay at your shop or your business. You are.
It's just like elections. you are contributing to electing bad leaders by not participating in that election. It is the same. If you don't go for public participation meetings, you are contributing to your own detrimental, because you are actually participating in provision of bad services by you not attending to speak out during a public participation meeting. So actually the public needs to be made aware. And sometimes the government mistake and say that civic education is for NGOs and civil society organizations. Actually, when you look at the County Government Act, it says civic education is part and parcel of the county government's role, one of the roles or one of the issues that the county government is supposed to provide. And it's supposed to be allocated funds for making members of the public aware about their rights and responsibilities and how to execute them. So by the county not allocating money for civic education, they're actually also making their own work even harder, because members of the public don't have knowledge, and they just sit back and think that everything will be done by the government for free. Kumbe they're supposed to be actually participating in actually working with the government in ensuring that you give your remittance and you get services in return. So that is also one challenge if you don't have members of the public that are educated enough, civic education, and also not having these proper frameworks for public participation. Even all of us who go to public participation meeting frequently, there is no a clear framework on, for example, something like threshold, that you can say that when people participate at this threshold, now this is meaningful public participation. So the county government, together with the civil society and other players, needs to come together and ensure that we put together frameworks that can actually assist people, credible frameworks that when people participate, they know that they can be able to get the feedback and goodies. If you follow this route here from Bamburi to Lights, let's say, for example, how many people are seated by the roadside?
A lot of people.
What do you think the future holds for those people? So if they don't participate, we are actually digging a hole for ourselves, and we will just fall into that hole that we are digging for ourselves. So it needs a leadership that is focused and that loves people, and they want really to serve people. That it's only through that leadership that can actually go out and ensure that they encourage people to participate, civic educate people, and actually mobilize all the stakeholders together so that they can be able to contribute for their own development. Otherwise, I don't see any big hope in like 10, 20 years coming. And you know, those people that are seated by the roadside are all parents. As much as you see them like jamato, but at home they have a kid that looks upon to this person. So what if the dad or the mother doesn't have a future? What about the kid? So we are bringing up a whole big problem to ourselves by not thinking at planning, by not taking data seriously, and it's so unfortunate.
Yeah, and that brings in the... Oh, someone is asking a question here, and they are asking, we would love to go for the public participation, but some of us work for people, and we may not be given the time to go to those public participation. So how are we going to be included in such participation?
The setup of the county provides for sectors, so sector hearings and sector working groups. There is also an institution that is called the County Budget and Economic Forum that this county is supposed to put in place. And this County Budget and Economic Forum is actually the think tank for development and financial matters for the county. These are this is a forum where it's supposed to advise the county that for you to reach the working class, can use this forum. For example, the online platforms, either WhatsApp, Facebook, or even coming up with a whole framework of a platform that can make even you here, as you're working, there is a document that you are looking at that is supposed to go for, has come for public participation and put your inputs as you're working, and then the county can get your inputs.
Exactly.
So the county needs to have those like think tanks, people who can really advise that we need to reach to members of the public so that they give us their views about this document, planning document. And there are this number of working class. So if we have, for example, 50% of the population is working class in Mombasa County, I'm just putting up a percentage, then what is the threshold of feedback from this working class, this percentage of working class, that we can say they really participated in this document? So the County Budget and Economic Forum actually is made up of different sectors, like the professionals, the women, the youth, the religious leaders, and the academia and such like people. So take one sector like the academia. They can actually mobilize their people and input on documents and return to the county. The women, the youths, the religious leaders, the professionals, and the private sector as such, because these are this is how the County Budget and Economic Forum is formulated. And then if each sector does public participation for their constituents, then they would feedback to the county, and then the county would look at the proposals, pick what they want to pick, and then feedback to those sectors for even the working class also to be able to participate in the governance issues. Yes.
Okay, well, that is very insightful, because most of us think, because I'm working, I'm not going to go for the barazas. But now the government has a role to play.
Yes.
To make sure that, fine, we want data, we have to include everyone. And there are so many ways of including anyone, even though they won't have time to come to
the public participation physically, but they can participate online.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think that is a very good discussion we've had today. This is just the beginning of a talk about data and the government and development. We are going to have this more and more every week, so you don't want to miss. This is just a premiere.